Shall we? All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Roman. I'm from Vade. Hopefully, you're not too hungry. And if you are, I'll try to make the next 20 minutes entertaining. And hopefully, you'll learn something as well. So today, we're going to talk about becoming a hacker. But what does that mean? Yes, it's a little bit provocative. Here is the premise of the conversation we're going to have. Have you ever wondered how can one person without any cybersecurity knowledge or technical skills today, how could that person carry out a cyber attack? Is that even possible, right? We hear a lot about AI. I've said it. We hear a lot about AI, but can actually my Aunt Susie, can she launch a phishing campaign, and would that be successful? So the goal today is to spend the next 20 minutes and see what is available out there in terms of tools, things that I could do in the context that I am not a cyber criminal. What is available for me to carry out an attack? Let's start. Before we do that, a brief word on who we are. So I'm from Vade. Vade has recently joined the Hornet Security Group. So we are a European cybersecurity vendor. Our main offices are in Germany and in France. So you're right in the middle here in Brussels. And we do M365 security, email security, and a lot of other things. We'll talk a little bit about that at the end. Okay, so back to my story. Let's try to build an attack. What should we do? What's the easiest path forward? If you think about it, there's something which is really easy to do. It's a phishing attempt. And this is a figure from our Security Operations Center on phishing. So there is a lot of phishing links, of phishing attempts out in the wild. Why should we choose phishing? At least there are 4 reasons. Well, number one, it does not require any technical skill or very little. So it's easy to implement. It's low cost, low technical barrier. Number two, if we use email, for instance, email per design is not secured. I can go on Gmail and I can pretend to be the CEO of a company with a random email address. The email address does not matter. As long as my content is credible enough, then I might convince you that I'm the CEO of your company. So email per design is not really secured. Number 3, email will get you to the heart of the company. There are multiple ways to get into the company assets, right? You could do some port scanning. You could try to find some vulnerabilities in the software that they use, go around their security devices. All of that is possible, but it's hard. It takes time. Whereas when you have someone's email address, once again, if you're good enough with your content, you have the chance for that person to open that link or that attachment and then to open you the gates of their organization, of their assets. And the 4th reason, with phishing, you can get a really easy and quick return on investment. Whether it is harvesting credentials, getting credit card numbers, or accessing a document, entering a company, you can really have a quick and easy return on investment. And that's why there are so many phishing attempts out there in a while. And back to our project today for lunch, that's the type of attack, type of cyber attack we're going to do today. Now, before we launch an attack, something that's really important and something actually cyber criminals have understood. To get a higher chance to have a successful phishing attempt, you need to build context and credibility. What does that mean? It means that if I'm targeting a specific organization, a company, I will leverage anything I hear about them. They're launching a new product. They have acquired another company. They're expanding on a new market. All of that is valuable information which I'll reuse to build the content that is meaningful to my target. And I can do the same with an individual. You are attending a trade show and maybe you posted something on LinkedIn about that. It's something that I can use, and as a matter of fact, it is something that cyber criminals use in their content when they try to reach out to their targets and their victims. And for this purpose, LinkedIn is a formidable source of information that cyber criminals use. You've been promoted to a new role. Congratulations. It's an opportunity for cyber criminals to target you as well. I'll use a real-life story maybe to back up my claim here. A couple of years ago, there was a cybersecurity vendor, and they went public with this attack. The attack did not go through, but they explained what has happened. One of their future sales employees had been targeted prior to starting by a cyber criminal impersonating their HR department and reaching out to that sales on his or her personal email address talking about onboarding. So probably that person had let the word out that he or she was going to work for that cybersecurity vendor. And what's even more interesting, that vendor, they are working with very sensitive customers in constructions, in utilities, electricity, and things like that. So that was one of the reasons why they were highly targeted. Just to back up my claim, whatever information we put out there, and especially on LinkedIn, will be used by cyber criminals. So again, in our quest to build our phishing attempt, we need to get some data. And I pick another real-life example. You might have heard, obviously, about Telegram. There's a lot of weird stuff on Telegram, but there's some easy stuff, right? I don't have any technical knowledge, so I'm just going to use a couple of bots. And I'm sorry it's in French. It's the French setting on my Telegram. I just enter someone's email address, full name, phone number, whatever the case may be, and it will pull me data on that person or on my search criteria in a nice and easy to digest way. It's quick, it's easy to understand. So I can have someone's date of birth, I can have someone's actual or former password, address, and once again, I will use that to build my attack, right? It's not groundbreaking, but it's meaningful, and it's going to help us build our content. So let's move forward. Now we have some information on our potential victim, right? We are going to use, yes, I had to talk about it because we're a cybersecurity vendor, and we have to talk about GenAI because that's what all cybersecurity vendors do, right? So of course, you've heard about ChatGPT. You can, it can code, so it can code a phishing page potentially. It can craft you an email, a phishing email. There are some boundaries, but it's easy to go around. No, but it can do something even better than that. And back to my previous point, those platforms, they can search the internet for you, and they can find ways to build the credible content. Let's have a real-life example. Don't tell my colleague I did that, but I looked up with ChatGPT one of my colleagues at the director level, and I asked in a prompt to search for information on that person on the internet, something I did yesterday, right? And actually looked up 6 different websites, not too many, but you're going to see on the next slide the content it found and what he was able to build. So this is my request, my prompt, and here is what it built. So it used 2 different channels, right? Number one is a professional and the background of the person I targeted. It found some information on that person. We're a cybersecurity vendor, so that person works in the cybersecurity field. So it's coming up with a trade show as a way to reconnect. And what I want my target to click on the link. But more interestingly, right, to make the requests, right, the email more tangible, more human, it's referring to that person, my colleague, he doesn't know, hobby, sailing. So it went on the internet, found out that person is working in Cybersec, all right, but also that person is interested in sailing. So I will use that to build my content. And again, we're talking about a cybersecurity expert, so that's probably not going to work. But you can think about some of your coworkers or some of maybe the customer you're working with if you're a partner. That may work for them. That's one way to use GenAI if you don't have any technical knowledge. It's building the content for you. Another way, you might have heard about this variation. It's the data analyst in ChatGPT. You can put some data in it. It will give you some information back, whatever you need. So I just randomly searched for SQL dump on the internet, on Google, found something. I said, hey, what about this person's name? What accounts do you have? And in a couple of seconds, I had the data back. So if you stumble upon like a real data breach, a leak, right? You put that in there, and you can cross-search with people maybe from an organization that you're targeting or a specific individual you're targeting. I didn't code anything, right? Didn't do anything, just do that for me, wait a couple of seconds, and I had the information I needed. I asked for password, I could have asked for date of birth, I could have asked for address, anything, once again, which will help me build my content. So, we've had the information, we have some sort of a content, now we need a vehicle. How are we going to reach out to our targets? What's available out there? Again, I don't have any technical skill. Number one thing we could use is Scama or phishing kit. Scama is the lingo. I think it's in French. I don't know about other languages, whether that's used as well. You could consider that as the low-hanging fruit, low-class kind of phishing kits available on forums, on Telegrams for $100, $200. Here are a couple of examples that we have. It's funny because what I like in those, some of them are actually fairly advanced. They will support Apple Pay. And so many actual legitimate e-commerce websites do not support Apple Pay. So those guys, they're smart. They want a quick box. They will support Apple Pay, Google Pay. They will be responsive. So you'll see on the next slide, there's some nice rendering of the website you're going to open on your cell phone. It looks professional. It looks slick. It looks credible. So if you're, once again, an end user, you're not a cybersecurity expert, you're certainly potentially being convinced by their attempt. Some of them, they may come with anti-bot protection. What it means in reality is that they will try to block the crawlers that are exploring the links. As vendors, we do go through all the links in the interwebs to try to identify those phishing pages, those open redirect, those malicious URLs, right? And some of them, they come with legitimate anti-bot protection. So they're fairly advanced for something that's going to cost you 100 to 200 euros. And it's easy to use. The last screenshot right here is some sort of a text message spoofer, right? And I don't know about Belgium, but it's something quite visible in France. You are going to receive fake text message, smishing, right? With phishing links in it, coming from the government, coming from the tax office, coming from anything that is a legitimate front and asking you to click on a link. You have some software available there as well. Again, we're not technical. We have all of that available at our disposal. And here's an example of a smishing attempt. So the content, again, is, sorry, it's in French. That's the only one I could come up with. But it's fairly credible. It could look like a real email from the government about a fine that I have yet to pay. And that's the rendering, right? It's slick. It's professional. And I only had to purchase the phishing kit. I didn't have to do anything for that kind of rendering. And if it were in motion, it would have some waiting time, really something of a regular experience that we would have with a website. So Scama. Scama is one option at our disposal if you want to carry out a phishing attack. What else do we have? We have the educational tools, quote unquote, because those are really in a gray area. I've picked one example. It's fairly known, but I like it because it's so rich, feature rich. It's called PyFisher. So it's true in that case, I need to install it, but not much more than that. And I don't know from the back if you can see it, but it comes with a lot of brands and services content. So if I want to do a WordPress phishing, I can do. If I want to do a Facebook phishing, I can do. It's showcased as a phishing training tool. That's why I say between commas. Between in reality, it's a pretty obvious phishing kit, right? We had one of our interns, we asked him, how fast can you set it up? And this is the truth. In less than 2 minutes, he deployed it on his machine, and he had a phishing page up and running on the internet for anyone to go there and submit their credentials. Once again, it's all about the credibility and the feeling that you're on a real page. So this is a random example from that one. You have this, what we call the Turing test, right? It's asking you to click on flowers, click on motorbikes or red lights. I always fail with the red lights. I don't know about you. But again, if you're an end user, you're going to be like, oh, this is something I'm used to doing. So that must be a legitimate website, right? And eventually, we'll collect the data. Easy peasy, right? I have the password, I have the credentials, and I can use it for my own purpose. What's next? What other options do we have? obviously we have phishing as a service. So those are platforms where you log in, you pay, and you have multiple phishing options available. There's one, it was called 16 Shop, and just to give you some numbers, they had over 150,000 domains available to carry out the phishing attack of their customers. They had a sales administration service, so they would cut your subscription if you were not paying on time. They had a support service, so you could call in if their platform was not working for you as a cyber criminal. They even have API, so if you wanted to integrate some of the data pieces and call some of their features, you could use that platform as well. That was 16 Shop. It was shut down by the FBI last year. There's another one we wanted to talk about. Again, there are multiple of them. It's called Greatness. So this is how you would log in. And that's an example of the rendering and the brand. So they tend to focus, at least initially, on M365 phishing. We had to blur some of the content. It was like a fake invoice on a so-called SharePoint website, but the rendering was really well done. And so you would have this kind of loading floating there and was asking you to enter your credentials. So the whole experience was nice. And all we had to do as newbie cybercriminal was just to log in and pay a subscription, and we would access this kind of content that we could send to our targets. It comes with some advanced features as well. So they have they're supporting phishing, as in QR code phishing. That's an option which is available. They support MFA bypass. They support Telegram bots to redirect the credentials that you would harvest to your Telegram platform. So all of that is supported by this platform. So it's fairly advanced, but again, easy to use for us as an end user. That's the phishing example from that platform. So that's for DocuSign in that case. That's the content that the platform can generate for you. So, all in all, what did we do? We looked up on the internet for information on our targets. I mentioned that multiple times. That has been my thing for years now. Content is king. If you want to be credible, if you want people to open, if you want a good click rate, as people from marketing would say, you need good content. You need to be convincing. So there are tools available out there to easily gather this data. We don't even talk about OSINT. That could have been a topic as well. We'll have the data on our targets. Then we used GenAI to help us further advance that data into a really nice content to target our people. And then we see we had at least 3 options available: Scama, phishing kits, the phishing training tools, and the phishing as a service platform that would allow us, realistically, in less than 15 minutes to carry out a phishing attack with a limited technical knowledge or without any technical knowledge. That's what's available on the interwebs right now. So maybe my Aunt Susie, she could do a phishing attack in less than an hour. Sometimes there's a fair answer to ask, what can we do against that, right? And this is where at Vade and Hornet we can step in, and cybersecurity vendors in general can help you, right? It's going to be about the protection, so analyzing your email flows, analyzing your M365 environment, analyzing the file that you share, the Teams chat, against those malicious messages, malicious content, phishing rails, as well as the training, right? So this is the value proposition. We have a single pane of glass, unique interface for partners or IT teams to protect their M365 tenants. We also work with other environments. We have a strong focus on M365. I won't go over all the pieces here, right? But everything we do is our own technology, right? So we have a lot of AI-based, patented technology. So think about spear phishing, user impersonation. We do NLP. If you think about phishing, brand impersonation, we do computer vision to identify brand logos. Those are just examples I'm throwing around. But we have a complete suite of products to protect you and your organization. And really, just to quickly zoom on one piece, the education of the end users, right? This is key. It's not a silver bullet. You can do training every day. You still have some people clicking on links. This is human nature. But it's all about having the right content for these persons, as in explaining them what is the whole cybersecurity context. How should I behave when I'm at a trade show? How should I behave when I'm working from home? Having that digestible, easy to understand, fun content on the one hand, as well as simulations that reflect what we're seeing out there. And not just bland phishing emails like your mailbox is full, click here. Nah, So the kind of things incorporated in our solution are, for instance, spear phishing simulations. So you would receive an email from a coworker telling you, hey, I think I've hit your car. Can you check the photo attached? Things that are more tangible for the end user, and to teach them to understand that the attacks these days are much more advanced, much more subtle, and that they need to be aware of that. That's what comes with the product we offer. All right. So if you want to go further, we're right across DLA here. Happy to talk with you about this presentation, about technologies, about threat actors, and of course, about a product portfolio. That's why we're here. We also have a blog. We post a ton of content of what we're seeing. Happy to see you there. And if you want more, there's also this email address. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you'll have a full belly soon. And it was my pleasure to be in front of you today. Thank you.